In this video, I'm going to show you how to implement the UI of stack and queue in React.js. So before we dive into the coding part, I'm just going to show you the demo of the project. So as you can see here, there is this box which has these two texts, select mode and select operation. And now if I click on stack, then the stack is going to be selected, and then now I can push elements or pop elements out of this stack. But currently I don't have any element on it, so I'll just push. When I push, you can see this nice smooth animation occur, and number 1 push in, I can push more, and 2, 3, 4. And now if I click on pop, then since I have selected stack, we know that stack follows the LIFO structure, which means last in first out. So the element which went in the last, which was number 4, will be popped out the first when I click on pop. So if I click on pop, 4 should pop out, and there you go, you saw 4 popping out. Now if I click again, 3 should pop out, 3, 2, and then 1. All right, this was for stack. Now if I go ahead and I click queue and then I start pushing, the push operation is going to happen normally with the smooth animation, 1, 2, 3, 4 all getting pushed one after the other. But now queue follows the FIFO structure, which means first in first out, which means the element that was first in gets out first, and the element which was first in this case was 1. So when I click on pop, 1 is going to pop out, not 5. So let's check it out. When I click pop, 1 should pop out instead of 5. So when I click pop right now, there you go, you could see 1 went away. Now if I click it again, 2 is gonna go, 3, 4, and then 5. So yeah, I hope you understood the demo of this project. We are just going to implement stack and queue, and we are going to do the UI implementation for that, specifically using React.js. This question was asked to me in an interview, and I'm going to show you the approach of how to solve it. All right, so to start with the coding, all I'm going to do first is I'm going to remove this app that you see over here in this class, and I'm going to give it a name of nothing but wrapper container. And then I'm going to go underneath this and I'm going to give it another div, and this div will have nothing but a class name of wrapper. Actually, this should be wrapper container, and we can give this the entire wrapper of stack queue, just like this. And then within this wrapper container, we are going to specify the styles for the left container. I'm going to give this a name of left container. All right, and then after that, within this we had that h2 on top. That h2 will have nothing but a class name of heading stack queue, and within this we are going to write select mode. All right, now underneath this h2 I'm going to create another div, and this will have a class name of mode container. Now within mode container we are going to add the stack queue buttons. So I'm going to give div, and I'm going to give this a class name of mode, and this will have the stack quad over here. And I'm going to copy this thrice because we need to add for the or which we had, the or text, and make this big, and then or text, and then queue, and then this will just have a class name of or. All right, so this was for the mode container. Now after the mode container, all we need to do is we need to go underneath this and then give another h2, which is going to be for the select operation, which will be selecting the push or pop operation. And here also I'll give the class name of heading stack queue, because we are going to keep the same styles anyway, so it doesn't matter. And then underneath this, I'm going to actually copy this whole thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just change the name of this to push pop container, and within that it will be the same thing, mode, the class name will be the same, but the text will be nothing but push, and over it will be pop, because all the buttons are the same styling as we saw in the demo. Okay, so after this, all I have to do is I also have to render out that container on the right side in which the elements get added or popped out. So that will be nothing but a div, and it will have a class name of stack queue container. Now within this stack queue container, I'll just be adding this the state array. Within that array, I'll just push or pop the elements depending upon the logic. So all those individual elements will also have a certain type of styling, but we will add that later as we go on ahead and while we execute it. So I'm going to save this, and we are going to make the CSS. We're going to add the CSS for all of these files. All right, so I'm going to add the CSS for the wrapper stack queue. The wrapper stack queue is going to have nothing but a display of flex, and then it's going to have a justify content of center, and then it's going to have a line items of center. After that, a height of nothing but 100 VH and a background color of nothing but black. This is for the entire wrapper that you see on the page, and I'm going to just copy these three because we are going to use these three quite a lot because we want everything to be centered out. Then I'm going to add nothing but wrapper container, and it's going to have these three again, but here justify content will be space evenly. And then after that, I'm going to give this a width of 40%. We're going to go through the styles pretty fast. It's pretty basic styles, so we need to focus mainly on the logic that we have. After that, I'm going to add nothing but a padding of 20 px and 0 px. After this, I'm going to give it a border radius of 5 px. All right, and then we're going to go down, and then underneath this, I'm going to add the styling for the left container. The left container will have these three again, and nothing but a flex direction. We need to give a flex direction of column. All right, cool. After this, we need to go down and add the styling for the heading stack queue. The heading stack queue is just going to have a color of white. And apart from that, we also need to select the first child. So I'm going to do heading stack queue and then select the nth child, number 1, and I'm going to give it a margin top of nothing but around 0 px. Yeah. So after this, what we need to do is we need to give the styling for the mode container. The mode container is also going to have those three stylings. That's it, because you want everything centered, all the buttons and the text within it and all. So after that, I'm going to give the styling for the mode. This is going to be for the individual buttons, and then it's going to have a background color of red, a border radius of 5 px, a padding of 5 px and 10 px top and bottom, and then a color of nothing but white. And after that, I'm going to give it a font weight of 600, and then a font size as well of 20 px, and then a width of nothing but 100 px. And then after that, I'm also going to give it a cursor of pointer so that you can get the button effect, and then a text align of center so that all the text within the button stays centered. All right, we are good to go here. And then after this, we have a few more stylings left. We are going to do mode on hover. On hover, we change the color to a gray, as you saw in the demo. So I'm going to keep this gray and then give it a color of black. So when we hover, the text color becomes black and the background becomes gray. And then I'm also going to give the styles for the or text which we have, that is nothing but white in color, and then it's going to have a margin of nothing but 0 px and 10 px and a font size of 12 px. All right, that's for the or. And now lastly, the last few styles we have is nothing but of the push pop container. Push pop container, this is going to have these centered attributes, and then after this we are going to add it for the last stack queue container that we added in the end for the right hand side where the elements get pushed and popped. Over here I'm just going to add display of I'm actually gonna copy paste. I'm actually just gonna paste that thing, but instead of doing this, I need to give it a flex direction, actually flex direction of column reverse, because initially when we add the elements, it will be added sequentially in a linear fashion, 1 2 3 4 5, and then if I make it just column, it's going to stay in a different order, in the opposite order. But if I reverse it, then it will give the actual stack queue behavior when we push and pop. So after this, I'm just going to add border 5 px solid white, and then a border top of none because the border didn't have a top as you saw in the demo, a padding top of nothing but 5 px, and then a width of 80 px, and then I'm going to give it a height of 200 px, and then an overflow of auto. You can make all these percentage as well if you want to make it responsive, but we just want to see the functionality work in this case. And then an overflow x of hidden. Okay, so this is enough for now. After this, we just need to add the value for the one that I talked about, that when I add the array over here, there will be individual values for that style. For that also we need to add styling. That will be added as we move on ahead and write the logic. Let's just open the browser and check what we've got. There you go. You can see this is our current build, and over here now none of the functions work, none of the functionalities work, but you can see the UI exactly similar to the one that which we had. This is the original build, and this is the current build. Okay, so now let's go ahead and add the functionalities. All right, so now let's start with the logic part. So I'm gonna add use state over here. I'm gonna use that from the React library, and as I had mentioned over here, we need to add the stylings for the value as well. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to declare an array that's going to be nothing but this array value, set array value. I'm going to name it this, and then I'm going to say use state, and I'm going to assign it to an empty array. and we know we can use the map function on the array. So all I'm going to do right now here is I'm going to say array value, sorry, this needs to be in these curly braces, array value dot map, and we're going to extract the value from it, and then we are going to return a div, and each of those divs will be having a particular styling, and we will give it a class name of stack queue value, and it will have the value of nothing but val, each value that we have. So now let's start adding the functions for each of them and the functionality. Over here in the push and pop, we can give it an on click event. We'll attach this on click equals to nothing but on push click. We can do the same for the pop as well. Over here down in pop, we can give this on pop click. All right, and then we need to create these functions as well. So all I'm gonna do here is first I'm just gonna create all this, and then we are gonna slowly start filling out the logic on push click and then on pop click. Okay, and then apart from this, we also need to add an event over here, on click event over here. So what I'm gonna do first is I need to decide what I'm selecting, right, whether it's stack or queue, because based on that we will perform the operation. So to get that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another state. It's going to be selected and then set selected, and then it's going to have use state, and it's going to start with an empty string, and then I'm going to take the set selected. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go over here on stack, and I'm going to say on click. When we click that, I want the set selected to have the text of nothing but stack. All right, and similarly over here I'm going to do, if we click on queue, then the set selected should have a text of queue. All right, it's pretty easy and self-explanatory. Now we need to make the functions for push click and pop click. We need to write the functionality for that. So for that, all we got to do is we can just go to push click first. This is going to be pretty simple. All I'm going to say first is if selected is equal to empty, then we'll just return out from this function. But if it's not empty, then what are we going to do? We are going to say we are going to make a temporary array which is going to be equal to, and we are going to spread all the values from the actual array value that we have, which is initially going to be empty. But then we are going to, in the temp array, we are going to push the temp array dot length plus 1, because every time we push, we're incrementing the value by 1, right? So initially the length is going to be 0. So when we push the first time, it's going to go 0 plus 1, 1. Then when we push again, it's going to go 2, then 3, 4, 5, and so on. So that's, and then after that, we just have to set the array value as the temporary array that we see here. All right, so this will properly set the array value to the new array that we require. So that's going to be for the push operation. And over here we need to also add the styling for the stack value. Forgot to add that, so we can go ahead and do that as well. I'm going to go to my app.css, and I'm going to add .stack value, and over here I'm going to add styling. We have a background color of red, a color of nothing but white, and then after that a font size of nothing but 16px, and then a font weight of nothing but 600, and then a width of 100%, and a border of 1px solid white. So it's going to be white. After that, this is going to add all the styles, the general styles that we want. So we can go ahead and test if the push works. Since we are already setting it over here and then mapping through it over here, the push functionality should be working. Let's check. When I click on stack, it's not going to show that white color selected icon like it shows over here now, because we haven't added the styling. But when I click on stack should be selected, and I'll click on push, and you can see 1 gets appended over here. I click push again, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we added this styling just now. But if I click on pop, nothing will happen because we don't have that. We don't have it for that. And for queue as well, the push is going to happen in the same way, because both stack and queue have the same functionality for push. All right, so let's just refresh this. We need to add the functionality for pop right now. Okay, now but before adding the functionality for pop, let's make sure we can figure out which one we are selecting. So let's add this. Let's add the code for that. That's going to be pretty simple as well. All we have to do is we have to go back up here to our stack and queue, and we can just add an inline style for here over here for now. All I'm gonna say is style equals to if we are going to write the background color, if selected equals to the stack, then we are gonna keep the background color as white. All right, so this is what we have now, and also we need to change the color when the background color changes. So I'm also going to do the same thing for color over here. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to write if selected equals to stack, then the color for the text will become black, because the background will be white, and if the text is also white, then it won't be pretty visible. And we are going to take this same thing, and we are also going to add this for the queue which we have, and we are going to save it. But instead of checking it for stack, we are going to check it for queue. All right, pretty easy. Now if I go back to my browser and if I click on stack, there you go, you can see stack is clicked. Now if I click on queue, then queue is clicked. So now you will at least know which ones clicked at what time. Okay, so now just go ahead and add the pop functionality. So for pop, all we have to do is we need to go above right over here. We are going to create a temporary array over here as well. Array value. Now we are spreading the values of this array in this temp array, and then manipulating this temp array and then storing it within the state, because this is a better way to do it in React instead of directly modifying the array inside this set array value. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to check over here. It's going to be pretty simple. If selected is equal to stack, then we are going to add the pop functionality for a stack, and if selected over here is equal to queue, we don't need to do else if and all, because we know at one point of time selected can only take one value, and if selected is equal to queue, then we need to perform the pop functionality for queue. So for stack, all that happens is it is last in first out. So the one which was added last goes out first. So it means the last value of the array will be popped out first, right? So all we have to do for that is we need to do temp array dot splice. Splice will directly, and in splice we over here mention, you can check out over here, if I hover on this, it will say that it takes two parameters, first start and then is the delete count. So the start will be from where we want to remove it, the delete count will be how many elements we want to remove. All right, so let's just add that. We want to in stack we want to remove the last element first, right? So we are going to do temp of arr dot length -1, and we want to remove only one element. So this is the number of elements we want to remove. All right, so after this we are simply going to do set array value, and we are going to set it to the temp array. Okay, and then we are going to do the same thing, but just a little different over here for queue. We're going to say temp array dot splice, and in queue we want to remove the first element, right? In queue it's always first in first out, so no matter whatever elements you have pushed, when we pop, we want the first element that was entered first to get popped out. So over here we are going to say we want the first element to be popped out, so the 0th index each time to be popped out, and we want to delete only one element. Okay, so and then after that we are going to say set array value, and we are going to add temp array over here. All right, so now if I save this, and we have added all the code, if I save this and I go back to my browser, I'll just refresh it once, and if I click on stack gets selected. If I push values, there you go, you can see values getting pushed, and if I pop, you can see it's getting popped from the top, right? The top elements are getting popped out. Now if I click on queue, and if I then start pushing my elements, and then if I click on pop back again, it should remove from 1 2 3 4 instead of 6 5 4 3. So let's see, if I click on pop, 1 should go, there you go, you saw 1 got removed, then 2 will get removed, 3 will get removed, 4 5 6 and so on. So all right, the functionality is working perfectly fine. The only thing that's left is to add the animation of all these divs coming into the box. As you can see over here, when I push, there is a beautiful animation coming over here, and these texts are also centered. So let's also add that. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my into my app.css, and over here I'm just going to add a few styles. So all we have to do is I'm going to write text line of center, and after that I'm going to give it an opacity of 0, and then I'm going to say animation fade in. If you guys don't know much about animation, then you can let me down in the comment section. I can make a video on this. I can teach you animation within just 15 minutes. And then we'll also give it an animation delay of 0.3 seconds, and then an animation fill mode of nothing but forwards. All right, after that I'm going to go down and I'm going to use the keyframes that CSS provides us, and then I'm going to access that fade in variable, and within that I'm going to say from opacity of 0 to an opacity of 1. I'm going to save this. So now let's go and check. If I go to my browser and I save everything, if I refresh it, I mean, and now if I start pushing, if that animation works or not, and the text within that div stays centered or not. Push, there you go, you saw that delay and nice animation come up, and the text is also centered. So here you can see all of those elements properly being pushed with a cool new nice animation. When I pop, they're all going to pop. And Q also works fine. I push all the elements, and when I have to pop, it's going to pop from the bottom. There you go. And for stack, when I push and I pop, it's going to pop from the top. All right, so that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed the implementation of this. This was asked to me in an interview. And if you enjoyed this content, then please don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more.